my chapter presentation is over chapter 10 in the Benner and Grimm textbook. It is over functional behavioral assessments. I chose to really focus in on the primary outcomes of a functional behavioral assessment, but I figured I'd give a little overview and background about this. So a behavioral assessment is an assessment given to a child who has had a problem behavior to keep occurring, and a parent or caregiver can't figure out why it's happening or how to get it to stop. And you can do these assessments through direct observations in the classroom or in the home, or interviews with the parent or caregiver or a teacher, or even sometimes the child themselves. And then there's also situations you can create where a child is in their element and they can manipulate toys. So on page 226, there's a box at the top of the page that lists these 5 outcomes. So the first one is a clear description of the problem behaviors, including classes or sequences of behaviors that frequently occur together. So this is the initial observation, you notice this behavior and you notice that it's not stopping no matter what you do. Right? And then the second one is identification of the events, times, and situations that predict when the problem behaviors will and will not occur across the full range of typical daily routines. So this is the situation in which it occurs. How often does it occur? Does it only occur with certain people? Does it occur at certain times of the day? Free time, maybe? The third one is identification of the consequences that maintain the problem behaviors. That is, what functions of the behaviors appear to serve for the person. So this is the why. Why is the child acting up? What are they trying to accomplish? Are they trying to get someone's attention? Do they want a certain toy, maybe, if it's during, free time? And the fourth one is development of one or more summary statements or hypotheses that describe specific behaviors, a specific type of situation in which they occur, and the outcomes or reinforcers maintaining them in that situation. So this is kind of the wrap-up. You write a summary of what you know, from the interview and the observations, and you make hypotheses about different solutions to the problem. If you do this, then it'll stop. So if you try to teach the child maybe sharing skills, then maybe this will stop. And then the fifth one is collection of direct observation data that support the summary statements that have been developed. So this is, even though you come up with a solution, you're still watching the child and keeping an eye to make sure that it's working, and if it's not, you reevaluate and come up with another solution. Because the goal of an assessment is not to punish the child, it is more to build the skills they need so that the problem will stop. If it's communication or speech, you build on that so that they learn. So I drew this scenario that a behavioral assessment could be applied. And there are stick figures because I'm not a great drawer. But this is Mrs. C, and she is Jimmy and Tyler's teacher, and she's kind of observing them. And you see Tyler is playing with his blocks, and then Jimmy's unhappy, but nothing out of the ordinary is happening. He's just watching. Okay. And then Mrs. C notices Jimmy starts kicking Tyler's blocks, which isn't normal. And so, your initial reaction is to give him a timeout, which is what she does, because a punishment usually will fix a behavior that they do not want. But Jimmy keeps it up and continues to kick Tyler's blocks, and he still gets his timeout, but Mrs. C notices that this punishment is not working. So this is probably when she'd call in a professional to do the assessment for Jimmy and voice their concerns to her parents and maybe see what's going on. And then you do more observations or interviews for the professional, and then they'll get together and come up with a solution. The professional will probably identify maybe what Jimmy is trying to accomplish. So, in this particular scenario, they notice that Jimmy just really wants to play with Tyler. And so Mrs. C is watching them, and they gave Jimmy some blocks so that he can play with Tyler. So this is probably like a first step to stop his behavior. They might work on maybe his sharing skills and like voicing when he wants to play with a certain toy so that he doesn't act out. So this is just like, one solution, but it's not a punishment, and Jimmy learns from it. So which is really the goal of a behavioral assessment. Thanks.